Hi guys, this is Faim Salam. I work with a ton of direct to consumer brands in setting up their supply chain strategies, helping them with order management, inventory, sourcing, automation, and warehousing. In this episode, I'm going to be the CEO of a hypothetical pet food brand, and I'm going to walk you through a mind map of how I would turn it profitable, or what are the strategies I'd be applying to turn it into a profitable brand. Now, before everything, I would like to, as usual, talk to the board of my company, this hypothetical company, and I want to know about their expectations. What kind of profit do they want to generate? What are some of the mistakes that they've made? Speaking of mistakes, I would like to highlight some of the most common mistakes when brands or executives, the mistakes that they make when setting up a pet food brand. So the first thing that they do is sometimes they are the manufacturing company that goes into e-commerce, but they do not separate out the manufacturing component to the e-commerce. And I've said in my previous videos that when you are in manufacturing, you have different KPIs, you have different variables that completely take away time when you're running an e-commerce and when you mix and match the two. So therefore, they do not separate out. You must separate out your manufacturing, the whole separate accounting, separate entity, and the e-commerce is supposed to be a separate team, separate entity, separate KPIs. Most importantly, is separate KPIs because you need to understand your e-commerce KPIs. Now, number two mistake is that your amounts were due in offline stores with poor inventory visibility. So you probably left your inventory in other offline stores that you have no visibility in, right? Number three, very common, poor choice of limited suppliers, right? And it's just as simple as that. You probably did not vet your suppliers, did not vet the ingredients that they use in your pet food, and so on, and that inadvertently and directly affected your brand. Number four is customer retention was weak because they did not have customer data in front of them. Again, when you don't have data in front of you, when you don't have a platform based e-commerce business, this is what happens. There's a lot of orders coming in, there's a lot of customer interactions, but very little retention because you just don't know your customers well enough because you don't have those data documented. Number five, poor ROAS because you're not monitoring your costs. Your ad costs are off the roof, and your sales are probably not making it so far. So something that I mentioned is that you must always have an orchestra kind of a strategy where you're monitoring the costs, your ads, and your sales every single hour of the day, because that's when you can turn off or turn on an ad depending on the mindset of the people on the internet, right? The people you're targeting. Number six, you did not have visibility on ingredients because they were importing them, and this in turn caused you to market inaccurate labels. Your direct to consumer brand is almost built by loyalists, right? This is something so important. So when you import stuff, unless you have gone to their facilities outside, like say for example you're importing from Spain or China or Turkey, wherever, you visited their facilities and you know what kind of processes they follow, what kind of ingredients they use, what kind of reviews they got as a manufacturing unit. That's a different thing. But if you have not done that, you have to understand that your brand is entirely built by loyalists and people who love it, and they're basically nerds, right? A bunch of nerds who read ingredients labels and everything, and they're very particular about what they feed their pets because their pets are literally another kid of them, right? I'm also kind of like that. So I will sniff out bad ingredients. I actually read a lot of ingredients because I got a cat. And on the contrary, they will also sniff out the good stuff. So they will also tell everybody else what the good things that you guys do, like the brand does, and what kind of great ingredients they use, and the labels are so nice, and the labels are so detailed, and so on. So that is something that you need to highlight, that you need to have visibility on everything, and you need to make sure you're appealing to the loyalist. Number seven, a very common problem, which is you've built too many products, right? Some of the more successful brands literally single-handedly build their entire brand, like 50 million in revenue, 100 million revenue on a handful of products, like maybe one or two or three products, right? Because it's just easy to measure. You're so focused, and you just have all the time and bandwidth to take care of your customers. Now that I'm done with the common mistakes, I want to understand what my KPIs are going to be as the CEO. So my first and foremost KPI for a direct to consumer pet food brand is that I want to keep tabs on growth and brand performance by measuring the orders per month. period, right? ROAS, how much are you spending? Return on ad spend, how much money are you spending on ads versus how much revenue is it generating? Number three, order fulfillment rate. It is so important that all the orders that are being generated, at least 95 and above percentage, are being delivered to the right customer, the right product, the right customer at the right time. That is what customer satisfaction, that's how you build customer satisfaction and you build your brand trust, right? And so it's very important that you pick the right fulfillment and the delivery partners. Number four, customer acquisition costs. You must keep tabs on customer, how much are you actually spending on these customer acquisition costs, and your LTV too. This is kind of like a standard ratio. You can follow it if you want, or if you think you can do better, 100% go by all means, right? Your lifetime value should be 3:1 roughly, right? And you should target, because it's a high margin commodity and it is a high quality product that you're trying to sell, because it's actually good for their pets and you're not trying to cut corners. You should look at a margin that is somewhere around 50 to 60% of gross margin, right? It's a healthy reinvestment. You have enough money to reinvest in your business, R&D and so on, and pick different processes and so on. So that's it. Now my KPIs are set. Let's move on to the profitable growth route. Now, before that, I would like to mention one more time that if you are a manufacturer, by all means, be that manufacturing component, because you're so much in control of everything. But for accounting purposes, for your operational sake, make sure you keep it as a separate unit, and your e-commerce as a separate unit with separate teams, separate KPIs, and so on. That being said, let's jump into my management. I want to talk to my current management. I want to understand that each and everyone understands the KPIs, and make sure that these KPIs are actually aligned with the new goals that we have, is that we want to dominate the market in a sustainable, profitable route. I want to understand the reporting structures. That is, essentially, are these reporting structures aligned with our goals, our profitable goals, and so on? If it isn't, you chuck them out. You don't look at them twice. Same thing with KPIs. If they're bad KPIs and KPIs that measures useless information, just get rid of it, right? Now, here's a little note. I need to make sure that I sit with the management and I have this understanding, a deep rooted understanding with my heads of departments, my board, my investors, whoever, that I'm not going to compromise the quality of it. I'm going to have a premium pricing. Obviously, it's e-commerce. I want to reach out to the majority. I want to have scientific formulation. I want to have vet approved nutrition, and it has to be high protein content with very premium ingredients. And also, I want to differentiate it from import and local competitors, right? So it must. Number two, it's a very important thing that everyone must understand, is that I want to cater to specific pet breeds, and I cannot cater to every breed, because there's probably a lot of different cats and dogs, different types of breeds of cats and dogs. It might appeal to a lot of them, but you need to pick your breeds that it's going to be suitable for, because again, that narrows down your focus and it allows you to execute in a narrow vision, which is far more effective way to do business and to do online business, right? Your ICP, your ideal customer profile, is essentially set up. Number three, develop a marketing strategy for first ultra premium brand. Like, there's a book called 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. You can create your own category and you can be the first in it. And that is always a better thing to do for you to stand out, because you have created your own category and you're the first in it, right? And there could be many other players who could be part of that category. It doesn't matter. But as long as you're first in it, there's always something. It's just a law of the universe of marketing, right? And so in the way I'm going to separate myself out from local and important competition. Number one, I'm going to have some sort of a premium pricing strategy to emphasize exclusivity. Number two, I'm going to use messaging like locally made, globally inspired. Sure, I have to have really nice, sexy packaging, obviously, along with the great ingredients, right? And also when I'm manufacturing locally and sourcing locally, I get import duty tax benefits by producing locally. And most important is that I have full visibility of the supply chain and ingredients, so I'm kind of in control of a lot of things. So these are the set understanding that I want to have with my board members, my head of departments, my management team, before I begin. Now, my go to market strategy is going to be like one word, just or two words, everything online, right? Everything online. So my e-commerce page, my website, and my website, first of all, has to be really nice. I have to buy like a Shopify template or a WooCommerce template. Yes, I can buy them because they're available, and you might have to spend like maybe $50 or $100 or whatever, but get a nice website. I want to get a nice website that is also very mobile friendly. I would not maybe immediately, but I would like to get mobile apps, because that you can ensure a very different kind of a customer experience when you have a mobile app itself. You can have vet appointments in it. You can have, your health issues documented by your pet and everything. That just adds so much value to the customers, the end users, because they have all their data in one place, and at the same time they can buy stuff as well. So I want to have my e-commerce set up so that I have all my order management integrations with backend systems, so that I can own the entire customer experience, the customer relationships, because that is the data that's going to help me upsell in the long term. Now, number two is marketplace presence. Can I list them in marketplaces? Yes, but can I list them in offline marketplaces? No, I will never do that. Only online direct integrations, because then I have full visibility on the inventory that I'm sending out to that marketplace, and how much they're selling and how much I'm making. Why will I not do offline? Because it's such a headache dealing with offline inventory, that you have to send your inventory there, and then they're not going to list it anywhere. At the end of the month, you have to have your own team members ask them how much were they sold, how many of them sold, how much should I bill you, whatever, right? And how much are you going to get paid. There's just unnecessary friction in your sales process. Do not do that, right? Now, even for pet stores and vet clinics, if they want to list down my, like, enlist my products, I would like to do it online with a direct integration to my order management system. So I know that pet store A has sold 10 units of this packaged product. I will never do online inventory. That's a lot of work. That's unnecessary hassle and unnecessary bottlenecks in my sales process. Now, products, only work on the highest selling product. Cut down 50 to 60% of existing non performing SKU. Maybe only two products to begin with. Second one, only because you want to compare with the first one, right? If the products, if, and these products go with, 99% of the pet owners. Look at existing data, do a little bit of research, but make sure your SKUs are limited, because you want to focus. Once again, removing SKU is a dramatic act. I like to say this to all the people that I work with, right? Removing SKU is a dramatic act that entirely convinces you that you do not need to hold on to dead weight in the way of your progress, and it helps you focus. Next, supplier relationship, very, very critical. I would like to work with top three manufacturers that use local ingredients, so that I'm able to develop a direct supply chain with them, right? And they must be directly integrated to my system, because I'm trying to scale. And because I'm trying to scale, I want to make sure I'm able to send them automated direct POs when my system is running out of inventory. My system is, set up with some sort of an automation rule, that it sends automated POs to these manufacturers whenever, your inventory count is a little bit low. Here's a little, food for thought. Your suppliers must go with your brand philosophy. So spend some time finding the right suppliers. I don't I personally don't recommend imported suppliers, because you cannot tell what goes on inside the pet food. Some people like me are passionate about their pets, and they want to give their pets, they want to treat them like their own child, and you're not going to feed anything that you don't know to your own child, right? So now, how I'm going to do digital content, this is going to be so key for me, because e-commerce and f-commerce, anything online that you're selling, requires you to make sure that you are able to capture a wide attention from a wider audience. And the only way you can capture attention in this day and age, in this digital age, is by creating content. And what are you going to do? You're going to create content repeatedly for that particular audience, themed around vet advice, animal welfare, cat videos, dog videos, cleaning tips, food habits of your cats and pets, and everything. Just create content on a regular basis, right? And make sure some of that content is also used as ads. Link them to your website, to that particular product. Make sure you have that link always, and measure ROAS, right? Number three, get influencers who are vocal about animal welfare to film content about you. That way, you build some sort of, obviously, brand awareness, but you are also striking yourself out from other competitors, because you're working with people who actually care about animals, not just some random influencer who you're just doing a paid content with, So, food for thought here. Again, a summary: provide 24/7 AI support plus human support for premium customer experience. Always remember the best coffee shop experience when the guys asked you a lot of questions, wrote your name on a coffee cup, smiled at you. Like, that is something that is unbeatable, that is very unscalable, but that is so important for winning in this digital age when you have a direct to consumer brand. Now, use exclusive communities to boost retention. Create a community of pet lovers, right, on Facebook, and consistently post those content in there as well, so that you're able to attract that audience and basically attract and create a community of pet lovers who are very educated about their pet feeding habits and pet care and so on. And so, customer service, again, I'm going to build, here's one thing about customer service: I will always build a team with fixed KPIs, just focus on customer love, purely customer love based on service, right? So ask them questions, like get feedback from them, use it for more content. So how was the delivery experience? Did your pet like the food? What else can we introduce for your food? These are free data that you're collecting right over a phone call, right? In this very competitive market, customers need to feel that they are cared for by your brand. It is always the case. It has always been the case, right? And it's even more so important right now because competition, if you need to survive, you need to actually pay attention to this. Number two, use this opportunity when you're talking to them to potentially upsell and cross sell, and collect some more data on, so that you can better your customer experience. Like, what kind of dogs do they like? What kind of dogs do they have they had in their whole lives? What are some of the challenges that they had with the specific dog, that specific dog? These are real life data from real users and customers that you could use later on for content and so on, right? Even for your product introductions. Okay, that's done. Now, customer service is done. Now, what am I going to do with operations? It's a very simple process. With operations, I want to find a fulfillment center with the best integrated shipping experience, with the best couriers. I want to move all my inventory there because I want to make sure my mind is completely free to focus on customers and getting orders and getting the right products to the right customer at the right time, right? And so, because you want to free yourself of all that, you don't want to deal with back end operations stuff, because that is not what you should be doing. You must, however, here's the point, however, you must have the backend in for operational numbers, just so that you can make faster decisions. Every experience that you outsource has to be monitorable. There has to be real data. It has to be integrated to your current business. And that is why you need to partner with 3PLs with 2-day delivery in key markets. Use branded sustainable packaging for better customer experience. Very technical. Optimize inventory with AI driven demand forecasting to prevent overstock. This is critical for superior customer experience. Okay. Now, I have set out some nuances that I would like to add. So that is specifically for the pet food industry. The pet food packaging affects both product freshness and perceived quality. So essentially, use vacuum sealed airtight pouches with resealable zippers. Train the staff or tell your fulfillment staff to follow strict packaging standard operating procedures or SOPs. Because again, inconsistent branding and unsealed package is just not good for your brand, right? Number two, not building a pet owner community. If you don't do that, you will always rely on ads, and that is not going to be good economically for you, because it's going to always cut down to your margins, right? The more organic you're able to build, organic audience you're able to build around your brand, the better it is for the long run. So number three is supply chain bottlenecks. Pet food relies on freshness, consistent texture, and ingredient traceability. Stockouts and delivery delays hurt, and with seasonal logistical issues, it might be the case. So what can you do for it? You can always build a buffer inventory for key SKUs. Make sure that you have set aside like buffer inventory, like 100 or 150, that below that you automatically or reorder from your supplier. And use regional fulfillment centers and integrate with regional local partners and integrate with your order management system, so that all you're doing is understanding and reading data. Which comes back to my other point, which is, if you ignore that data, what happens is that you're not tracking your customer behavior. You're not able to add more value to WhatsApp messages, and your entire fulfillment process and your order management process becomes just slow and not very attractive. It doesn't make you competitive. So use automation tools for direct to consumer insights, understand behavior based campaigns, like, when who actually watches your ads, what time do they watch your ads, right? How long do they watch it for? And what was the action that they took? Did they just leave you at the cart, or did they actually order? These are critical numbers that you need to understand because you have your mind set on data. And poor product education, which is use simple terms in your content, very simple terms. Don't go super technical because that might just go over the head of your viewers, right? So educate your market, educate your user with very simple terms. Now, that is the end of my session today. If you think you got value from it, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.